A very quick topic about, actually it's a question on the study guide, is what is the primary fuel when you're resting? So if we remember that when we talked about beta oxidation and well, beta oxidation is for light intensity, it's for a long duration, it gives you energy, it gives you much more energy, but it takes a lot longer to use versus carbohydrates, which give you energy faster, but it gives you less ATP. That's the whole glycolysis and Krebs cycle and whatnot, or mostly glycolysis. Now, when you're resting, it's not that intense. I mean, right? You're resting, so it's light intensity. So what macronutrient or what fuel source would you mostly use? You'll mostly use fats and rest. Now, you're not going to use 100% fat because your body never burns 100% fat. Right? If your body burned 100% fat, no one would have like everyone would have like 2% body fat, 3% body fat because you constantly are burning fat. No one's like that. So you're not burning 100% fat at rest. You're probably burning around 50-50, 50% fat, 50% carbohydrates. Again, don't focus on the ratio of 50-50 or what they say in class, but you're burning mostly fat at rest. The ratio is not really important. It's just that you're burning mostly fat. Now, during light intensity exercise, you're also burning mostly fat. Because again, you're exercising, it's true, but it's light intensity, so you have long enough to burn fat. I don't know if I'll say it's 50-50, but you're still burning mostly fat. Now during high intensity or heavy intensity, whatever you want to call it, now the ratio shifts and you're burning mostly carbohydrates. That's glycolysis. You're mostly doing glycolysis, or you're breaking down glycogen, which is a stored form of glucose, but you're depending mostly on carbohydrates. You're still burning fat, obviously, no matter how intense the exercise is, but you're not burning mostly fat, which is why eventually your body runs out of carbohydrates. You only have a certain amount of glycogen, a certain amount of carbohydrates. And remember, when you burn carbohydrates, you form lactic acid from that process. When you go on anaerobic. When you're burning fats, you don't form lactic acid. You have an unlimited supply of fat. Now, there's other factors that make you stop exercising, because you're probably thinking, well, if you have an unlimited supply of fat, why do you eventually get tired and stop exercising? There's other factors that factor into it. But just looking at the process, looking at the simplest thing, you have an unlimited supply of fat. So, I won't say unlimited, but you have a very large supply of fat. So you burn mostly fat at a high intensity and low intensity and resting. You burn mostly carbs at high intensity. So now let's see what else. Now, another thing I don't know if I said, but I kind of hinted at it. ATP is needed for every process in the body. Every process uses ATP. Everything in the body uses ATP. Breathing, talking, moving your finger, whatever. Everything requires ATP in the body. Even processes you don't think about, such as I can't really think of any processes right now. Digesting your food, breathing, your heart beating, all those processes require ATP. So everything in the body runs by ATP. The only time you're not making ATP is when you're dead. That's the only time you're not making ATP in the body, but everything runs by ATP in the body. Everything. In the process of forming ADP plus a phosphate to form ATP, which is energy, this is the main process in the body usually. Now, I skipped this process when I talked about the electron transport chain, but the electron transport chain does this. It takes all those electrons from all those molecules you formed and gives you the energy essentially to do this process. Now, what does this? So it's essentially, this question is essentially asking what forms ATP in the body. Remember what I said, everything forms ATP in the body. Your body is very versatile. It can form ATP from carbohydrates. It can form them from fats. It can form them from proteins. Hell, it can even form it from lactic acid. That byproduct that everyone thinks about that is terrible for exercise, or it's the reason why you stop exercising. Little disclaimer in the next videos that we talk about, lactic acid doesn't stop you from exercising. It's one of the factors, but it doesn't stop you. It's very rare in the body that there's one molecule that does one thing that leads to the cessation of exercise or something. It's many different factors. So lactic acid doesn't really stop exercise, it leads to it. So lactic acid can actually form ATP. Carbs can form ATP, we know that, glycolysis. Fats can do it, beta oxidation. Proteins can do it also if you really need them to. You don't want to use proteins because they have another job of forming muscle, but if you really need them to, they can form ATP. Lactic acid can also form ATP if you need it. Essentially, the body is very, very versatile. It adapts to everything. The body is made to survive. So if you run out of carbs, it'll use fats. If you run out of fats, it'll use proteins. If you run out of proteins, it'll use lactic acid. If you run out of lactic acid, it'll use carbon dioxide or something. I don't know. I think I made that up. But the end point is your body is made to survive. If you run out of one thing, it'll use something else. It can use anything for energy. So I think that's all that will make sense in this video to talk about.